Good morning. You're listening to The Brief Wake Up, your mindful start to the day. I am Handel, your daily coffee companion, helping you wake up informed, thoughtful, and maybe just a little amused before the day gets old. If you're commuting, corralling kids, or just standing in line for caffeine, you're in the right place. Let's get you caught up. Starting off the show with what's important. On the health front, let's talk about something that hits right at the intersection of tech and childhood. The age kids get their first smartphone. A massive new study out of the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia looked at more than 10,000 kids and found something striking. Those who got a smartphone by age 12 were 31% more likely to show signs of depression and 40% more likely to be obese than those who didn't. The link didn't just stop there. Early phone ownership was tied to less sleep, which we know affects mood, focus, metabolism, and even hormone balance. In other words, the phone in a child's hand may be quietly reshaping their mental and physical health long before adulthood. Now, to be fair, the study doesn't say smartphones cause depression or obesity. It's correlation, not causation. But the pattern is clear. Kids with earlier access tend to spend more time online, move less, and sleep worse, and that adds up. Some researchers point out that it's how phones are used that matters most. Social media stress, late-night scrolling, constant dopamine hits. Not the device itself, but the habits it enables. So, what's the takeaway? Maybe it's this. Childhood doesn't need a data plan. Delaying a full smartphone or setting strict screen hygiene, no phones at dinner and none after bedtime, could help keep both body and mind healthier. Because sometimes, the best signal we can give our kids is space to just be kids. Next is the news. This news this morning overlaps with health. There's growing controversy over a proposed shakeup to America's childhood vaccine schedule, and it's coming from inside the advisory system itself. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now leading the Federal Vaccine Advisory Panel, has signaled support for removing or delaying the Hepatitis B vaccine given to newborns within 24 hours of birth, a shot that's been standard in the United States since 1991. Supporters of the change say the birth dose should be optional if a mother tests negative for hepatitis B. They argue that parents should decide when their child is vaccinated, calling the early dose unnecessary for most infants and potentially safer if postponed. But public health officials are sounding alarms. The hepatitis B vaccine has been credited with virtually eliminating childhood transmission of a virus that once caused thousands of infections and countless cases of liver cancer each year. They warn that even small gaps in coverage could allow the disease to creep back, especially since many carriers don't know they're infected. Researchers also note that decades of data show no credible evidence of harm from the vaccine, while its benefits are well documented worldwide. The CDC and major pediatric societies are urging the panel not to change course. For Kennedy, this move fits into his long-standing argument for vaccine choice, but critics say it risks undermining confidence in the broader childhood immunization system, a cornerstone of public health. So, the question now is less about one shot and more about the precedent. When medical policy starts bending to politics, how long before the science itself starts to fracture? This is a reminder that some debates aren't just about medicine, but about the trust that holds public health together. For tech and culture, this episode wraps up our conversation on logic and the brain. So back to where we started the discussion. George Boole believed that everything, every question, every decision could be reduced to one of two answers, true or false. And for nearly 2 centuries, that idea has powered the entire digital world. Every phone, every algorithm, every line of code still speaks Boole's language: one or zero, on or off, yes or no. But what's interesting is that the human mind never stopped evolving, because even though we use binary logic, we live in the gray between. Take emotion, memory, or morality. None of them fit neatly into a truth table. You can love someone and still feel hurt. You can know something's wrong and still understand why it happened. You can believe in logic and still be moved by wonder. Neurodivergent thinkers often show us that tension most clearly: how the world's ambiguity can clash with the brain's need for clarity. It's not about coldness or distance. It's the mind reaching for rules in a universe that keeps rewriting them. And in that reach lies something beautiful: the human attempt to make meaning out of contradiction. Now our machines are doing the same. Artificial intelligence has begun moving beyond Boolean logic into fuzzy reasoning, a place where answers aren't just yes or no, but maybe, mostly, or probably. Sound familiar? That's how the brain works too. So, after all this time, our technology is circling back to imitate us. It's not our clarity, but our complexity. Not our precision, but our paradox. Boole gave us the bones of logic, but it's the messier mind, the one that feels, doubts, and hesitates, that gives thought its soul. We began with ones and zeros. We end with everything in between. Because the future of intelligence, human or artificial, won't be about true or false. It'll be about understanding why both can exist at once. Next, let's lighten things up with the lighter roast. This morning's lighter roast is about a love story, the oldest one we know. Not Romeo and Juliet, not Cleopatra and Antony. I'm talking about humans and dogs, the original ride or die partnership. Long before cities, before farming, before we even figured out how to grow wheat, there were campfires, and around those fires, there were wolves, hungry but cautious and curious. Some crept closer for scraps. The ones brave enough, or gentle enough, got to eat. And without realizing it, we started selecting for kindness. That's how wolves slowly turned into dogs, not through a single act of domestication, but through a long conversation of trust. Those early dogs earned their place, hunting partners by day, heaters and alarm systems by night. They warned us of danger, helped us track prey, and gave us companionship before we even had words for it. They didn't just follow us, they evolved with us. Fast forward a few thousand years, and dogs are everywhere, guarding our homes, guiding the blind, comforting the anxious, and starring in more holiday movies than most actors. They've gone from wolves at the edge of firelight, of which they still share 99% of their DNA, to family members who sleep on our beds and steal our socks. But here's the twist. Scientists think they chose us just as much as we chose them. Wolves that could read our emotions, sense our fear, and calm our nerves had the best shot at survival. And over millennia, that ability got hardwired. Dogs became experts at decoding the human heart, one tail wag and side eye at a time. Today, when your dog looks up at you, that gaze triggers the same hormone, oxytocin, that bonds parents to their babies. That's not pet ownership. That's biology saying, we belong together. So maybe the real story isn't how we tamed the wolf. Maybe it's how the wolf softened us, taught us loyalty, empathy, and the art of showing up, no matter how messy the day gets. Because in the end, humans made civilization, but dogs made it worth coming home to. Tomorrow we will see what is there to be said about cats. Now on to our commemoration. This morning on the brief wake up, we're looking at what the world is marking today, December 3rd. A mix of purpose, gratitude, and just a little bit of quirk. We begin with one that carries real meaning. Today is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, a United Nations observance dedicated to awareness, dignity, and inclusion. Around the world, it's a reminder that accessibility isn't charity, it's justice. From workplaces to classrooms to digital spaces, the goal is simple. Create a world where everyone can participate fully, not just fit in. It's also Make a Gift Day, a perfect moment to create something by hand. A note, a meal, a small gesture, something that says, I thought of you. Because in a season often defined by buying, there's something quietly radical about making. Then there's National Roof Over Your Head Day, a gratitude check-in. Take a second to look up and remember that shelter is a privilege, not a guarantee. It's a call to appreciate stability and maybe support someone who's still looking for it. If you needed an excuse for dessert, here it is. National Apple Pie Day celebrates the aroma, the nostalgia, and that universal truth that somehow cinnamon and butter makes everything feel like home. Speaking of comfort, it's also Green Bean Casserole Day, the side dish that somehow shows up at every potluck holiday table and church basement across America finally gets its own spotlight. And finally, in the spirit of the online shopping era, Package Protection Day. It's your gentle reminder to track those deliveries, secure your porch, and maybe wave at your friendly neighborhood mail carrier. So, whether you're reflecting, baking, or just chasing down a package, December 3rd is about gratitude in all its forms, from inclusion to apple pie. Because sometimes the best way to celebrate the world is to notice what's already good in it. Today's show bridged everything from science and society to loyalty and love. From Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s push to reshape vaccine policy, to how early smartphone use is quietly reshaping kids' minds and bodies. We explored the gray zone between logic and emotion in tech and culture, and softened it all with a story of how dogs may have tamed us more than we tamed them. And as the world marks the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, we close with a reminder that gratitude, inclusion, and even a slice of apple pie can all be acts of connection, the small things that keep humanity human. This is Handel for the brief wake-up. Remember to be calm, kind, and curious, and top off that cup. Until next time.